So what's the best paint scheme of 2022? Let's definitively find out right now. Hey race fans, it's Taylor, and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. And in this episode, we'll be completing our tier list of the best paint schemes of 2022. So if you've missed part 1, make sure to watch that now before you watch this. Again, here are the rules. I picked my favorite schemes from each chartered car in 2022, and of those paint schemes, none of them are throwback schemes from Darlington. I personally just didn't feel like it was fair. I also felt like they were like older concepts, getting new, and I just didn't like it. So we're picking all modern day paint schemes for 36 chartered cars. In part 1, we left off on Martin Truex Jr.'s car. Now we're moving to the number 20 car of Christopher Bell. And again, I went pretty boring with this. I chose his primary paint scheme, the DeWalt number 20. However, this isn't just any DeWalt scheme. This is specific to the Bristol Dirt Race, and here is why. For the other sponsor on the hood, Moores, I like how their logo fits into where the WALT start to go up on the DeWalt logo. I also like how the color fits the other colors on the hood. The other sponsors that we've seen on the hood with DeWalt on these paint schemes have been like green, blue, red. They haven't fit, and this just fits really well in my opinion. I've always liked the DeWalt paint schemes. I think they're fun. However, in the scheme of things, this is probably going to rank in the C category. So we're gonna give it a C. I'm gonna put it above this Built Bar paint scheme though. I love the Built Bar paint scheme, but it's just, I like the simplicity. Again, like I've said a million times in the first part of the video, I like simplistic and clean paint schemes. This fits the bill, but I've gotta put it below that number 2 Cindric scheme. Speaking of simplistic and clean, this number 21 Harrison Burton Dex Imaging paint scheme. Again, this is simplistic, it's clean. I feel like the space is used incredibly well. This actually, I know I said it in the first part, but looking at this paint scheme right now, this might be the best usage of space on the side of the car. Granted, I know there's not any other stickers for other sponsors, like small or large, but I like how clean this looks. But then we get into the issue of asking ourselves, is this too plain? This 21 scheme reminds me of the Scott Credit Union scheme for the number 15, and the fact that it was simplistic, it was a plain car, but the primary logo fit beautifully on the car. I ranked that scheme at a C, so I'm gonna do the same thing here with this Dex Imaging. I'm gonna put that at a C. I'm gonna put it though above this Scott Credit Union scheme though for the number 15. Next up is Joey Logano. I loved his primary Pennzoil paint schemes, I really do, but I loved the 2 AAA insurance paint schemes that he ran this season. I chose the one particularly for the Texas race though. The one that Logano raced at Auto Club, he had the Circle AAA logo on the hood, and I just wasn't a big fan of it. I felt like it didn't use the space properly, and it just kind of looked funky, though I love the logo. It just looked weird on the hood of the car. This one, I feel like the hood of the car is utilized properly, and the space is used perfectly. Again, we also have the other thing where I am a sucker for red, white, and blue on a car. Again, I like this one, it's solid, but I think I'm gonna put it at a D though. The side of the car just is not used properly, and it's the weird shape of the AAA logo. I think that's just what kills it. But I mean, it's a decent car. Like I said, these are the best of the best paint schemes. These are all my favorite paint schemes out of the entire year, but I cannot rank it above a D. Next up, we start looking at the 2311 racing cars with Bubba Wallace in the number 23. I did make a rule for these cars just because with Kurt Busch leaving the car, Ty Gibbs coming in, and then they swap numbers just to get those playoff points, I decided to go with schemes specifically for the driver that the car was originally intended to be with. So, with Bubba Wallace, I'm looking at Bubba Wallace specific schemes for the 23, for Kurt Busch in the number 45, I'm looking at Kurt Busch specific schemes in the number 45. I'm not looking at Ty Gibbs schemes. With that said, I am a sucker for McDonald's, and I am a sucker for McDonald's paint schemes. Therefore, I went with Bubba Wallace's scheme. This picture was taken at the Kansas race, the first one that they went to this season. I like this car a lot. Is it my favorite out of the bunch? No, but I like it. I also really appreciate how they use the space on the side of the car to show off some of the products that they have, showing the Big Mac, showing the fries. They didn't just let it be the Dr. Pepper logo and the Doordash logo. They filled the space in a unique way, which I appreciate and I respect. With that said, I think this paint scheme gets a solid B. I'm gonna put it on the low end of a B because I still feel like the scheme is a little awkward, a little wonky, but it is in the best way possible. So the number 23, Bubba Wallace, getting a B on the paint scheme tier list. Next up is William Byron in the number 24. Now for him in particular, I think this was the toughest time I had choosing a paint scheme because I was between the Valvoline paint scheme that he had and I was between the Liberty University paint scheme with the flames because it looked clean. It is the cleanest flame paint scheme that I have ever seen and I loved it so much. But after contemplating between that and this, I have to go with the Valvoline scheme. It's because it's the red, white, and blue. I know that the Liberty scheme had it too, but I like the pop that the number 24 provides on this scheme in particular. I feel like it works really well. I will say though, I actually went into Photoshop and I made the 24 colors red instead of yellow, and I liked this scheme a lot better because I was curious if it was just the neon that I liked on the scheme or not, but I don't think it is. I think it's just the clean lines and everything else. That said though, I like the scheme better if there was a different color option for the number, and because of that, I gotta rank this one a little low, but not super low. I'm gonna give this one a D. I'm gonna rank it higher though than Larson's Valvoline scheme. I like it better than that. So we'll switch that around. There we go. So William Byron ranking him at a D. Next up, Justin Haley in the number 31 colleague scheme for leaf filter. He actually had leaf filter on all of his cars as a primary scheme but one, and I think the one was a Celsius scheme. So I really had two paint schemes to choose from, and this was my obvious favorite. Again, I think that this scheme utilized the space in the right way. However, I hate the hood of this car. I just feel like the hood of the car looks off. If we're gonna have the leaf filter logo on the top, I feel like it needs to move a little bit more center. There's room for that to be more center. And then if we have the leaf home logo, I think just maybe make it smaller on the hood. Otherwise, the car is fantastic. Again, I'm gonna rank this in the C category. I know the C category is getting filled up just a little bit. I'm ranking it higher than the Andy's ice cream. I'm gonna rank it higher than the number 15, higher than the 21. I do think I'm gonna keep it below the Corey LaJoie paint scheme. I do like that one. It's still very iconic. So we're going to put the 31 in the C category right in the middle there. Next up, Michael McDowell, number 34. I chose his Freight Auctions paint scheme. For me in particular, I feel like they made a really smart choice. They could have just put the whole Freight Auctions like wording logo on the hood and just stretched it out, but they made a great choice with putting the FR8 logo on the hood. It has better exposure there. The company's better seen on the hood in that way as opposed to just writing out the entire name of the company. So very good choice there. Again, I like how simplistic the scheme is, but it doesn't necessarily wow me. And I feel bad putting this at a D. I feel worse putting this at an F. So I'm gonna put it at a low D, but I have a feeling I'm gonna really be shuffling up this D and F category. Now this scheme I love. The number 38 for Todd Gilliland. We have the front line scheme. It looks good. It could be busy. It really could be busy with just the shifting and shaping of the black, gray, and the darker grays, but I like it a lot. This one is gonna go in a B tier. I can't explain it to you otherwise. I really can't. He ran this at the spring race in Phoenix. That's it. I'm giving it a B. For I think the last time in 2022 that I'm going to say this, we have Cole Custer in the number 41 in the HaasTooling.com scheme. I will say overall, I'm not a huge fan of the Haas Tools, Haas Automotive schemes. I do not know why. I'm just not. Granted, they do have the fade on this one with like the blacks going into the grays, making a cohesive kind of color collision that I said I liked in the other cars, but this one, I just don't like it. I don't know why. And I'm mad at myself that I don't like this paint scheme and I can't give it above an F. Again, this is my favorite Cole Custer paint scheme that he ran this season, but I'm putting it on par with the number 10 scheme. I just don't like it. I like it worse than I think this number 10 car. Actually, you know what? That's false. I like it better than the 10 car, but it's still not my favorite of the favorites. Next up, Ty Dillon in the number 42. I loved a lot of his schemes this year, from Allegiant to Black Rifle Coffee, but if you know me, you know I'm a dog lover, so this one obviously won out. It's a clean, nice paint scheme. A lot of my favorite color combinations in here with black, white, and blue. The Big Dog Energy scheme. For me, great use of space here. I like how clean cut everything is and how everything seems to have a proper place. It's not clunky, it's simplistic, and it has a dog. And for my own selfish reasons, that gives this paint scheme a B. Speaking of petty GMS cars, let's move to the number 43 of Eric Jones. This U.S. Air Force paint scheme is my favorite by far for Jones this season. The only thing I don't like about this scheme is what is classic and synonymous with petty is that blue behind the 43 car. For me, it detracts from the scheme a little bit because of that, I think it's like a green, like a dark green color that is covering the rest of this car. It looks funky with it. If it was just the orange and the white on these numbers, I would like the scheme a lot better, but because my brain just doesn't compute that, I gotta detract this from the scheme just a little bit. And like I said, I know the blue behind the numbers is synonymous with petty. I'm just not a huge fan of it with that scheme in particular. I just don't feel like it works together. So I'm gonna give this scheme a really high C. I think I feel a little iffy about that, but I'm gonna put it above this DeWalt car, in my opinion. I know that's also weird for me to say just because I love the DeWalt car so much, but I also love this scheme a lot. Actually, I lied. I'm putting it below the DeWalt car. because I felt like I had more flaws with this scheme, the number 43, than I had with the number 20. Next up, the number 45 with Kurt Busch, and obviously I'm going to go with his Kansas winning paint scheme, the Air Jordans one. I just got the die cast of this car and I'm very excited about it. However, what I would have loved more about this car is if the gray was just a little brighter. I loved Kurt's fire suit for this weekend, and I wish that translated a little bit more over to the car. Though that loses some points for me on this paint scheme, that's not enough to lose my love for this paint scheme completely. I still think it's really cool looking. I gotta give it an A, honestly. I can't put it on an S tier. I gotta give it an A though. I'm gonna put it below the 3 try scheme though. Next up, we have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the number 47. Now you're thinking, Taylor, why in the heck is Sunny D not on your screen? I thought the same thing when I made this final decision on the scheme, because the Sunny D scheme is one of the best schemes ever, period. However, I like the unique approach that they took with this Kona Brewing Big Wave car. And you all know me, you all know I kind of have issues with the JTG Doherty cars. They're unique designs for sure, they're just not my personal favorite, but this one I thought was so unique and very clever. It's unlike anything we've seen this season. For me, if I was this brand, I would be very happy with how this car looked. I felt like it fit the brand very well, and that gives it brownie points. And this car was run at the Fall Vegas race, so we didn't really see it on screen a lot because I know it was the playoffs and everything was happening. I actually didn't really know this existed until I went to look on the website, but I like the scheme a lot. However, compared to everything else, I'm gonna give it a D. It is very busy, but I feel like if I was a sponsor, I would be incredibly happy with this scheme, like I said, but it's not my complete favorite. I am gonna rate it higher than McDowell's. I do not think it surpasses the Joey Logano scheme though. Next up, we have Alex Bowman, and I followed the rule that I followed with 2311 Racing because Alex Bowman was out for a few races due to concussion-like symptoms. I did not count any of the paint schemes that Gragson ran in as Alex Bowman schemes, which sucks because the one that they had for Halloween or something like that with Ally where they had the pink bats on the car, that was my favorite scheme of 2022 for the 48 car. However, I stuck with my rule, and otherwise my favorite paint scheme is just the plain old Ally scheme. And I said this was the best of the best schemes, but I hate this scheme, unfortunately, so much. I remember when the Hendrick schemes for 2022 came out, and my first thought when I saw this was Easter, just plain and simple Easter. I don't know why, just the colors reminded me of it. And like I said, this is the best of the best paint schemes. This is the best paint scheme that I found for the number 48, or in my opinion, I thought was the best for the 48. But I just don't have a strong like for the scheme. I'm gonna give it an F, unfortunately. I'm sorry to Alex Bowman. I think I do like it better than the Truex car though, but it's just never been a favorite scheme of mine. I don't know why. So I'm sorry to the Bowman fans out there, but this scheme is getting an F on my best of the best list. The second and last chartered car for RWR, we have Cody wearing the number 51. You're probably looking at your screen again and it's like, hey, Taylor, where's the purple in the NerdTech ODT car? Here's my thought process. I like the black car better. I really did. I love the purple scheme, don't get me wrong, but when you put the colors together with the black, it just looks really slick, really cool, and I think it makes the paint scheme better. I'm sorry, Cody Ware. I know we love the purple. I like the purple too, but this was just a little bit better. And I actually like it enough to put this at a B ranking. You guys are gonna think I'm nuts looking at this list, but I gotta give it a B. I thought it looked really, really good. We are down to the final 3 cars of our tier list. We got Landon Castle here in the number 77, the Fox Nation car that he ran at Daytona. Again, I know the 77 saw a rotation of drivers and schemes. This one happened to be my favorite though. However, it's not my favorite of all time on the best of the best list. Again, I am a sucker for red, white, and blue on a scheme. I'm just not a huge fan of this one. I'm gonna give it a low D, because in my opinion, if you're gonna give me a red, white, and blue scheme, it's gotta be a little bit of a lighter blue. I don't know why, I just like it better that way. It's just the colors and it's my preference, but this one's gonna get a low D. I don't think it's gonna beat the McDowell car, because I do still feel like the scheme's a little clunky, but it was my favorite scheme for the 77 in 2022. I'm looking directly into camera right now, and I'm telling you, we slept on the BJ McLeod paint schemes this year. I don't know where we were, I don't know where I was, but I was looking at all of his schemes, and I liked them all. There was not one that I did not like. So naturally, I had help picking my favorite scheme because I literally couldn't choose. I had such a hard time choosing which one I liked the best for the number 78. There was another Motorsports Games scheme that I think was all black and it had red on it, and I love that one, but this one with a pop of orange in the back, just making the skull really pop out, I love that for the Motorsports Game number 78 paint scheme, so therefore this is my favorite scheme for the Live Fast car. And it's ranking pretty high because it is unique. The intricate design, it could be too busy, but I personally don't really think it is. I'm not a huge fan though, the Motorsports Games logo in red with the orange. I think it would have popped out more if it was in white, and I know the Motorsports Games does have a white logo. So that's going to lose some brownie points for me on this one, but I got to give this a really low B. I love this scheme a lot. I think it'd move higher if for that. I also said I really like clean paint schemes. I know that this one was a little busy, but it was busy in the best way possible. Last but not least, we have Daniel Suarez and the number 99. Again, this was a tough one. I also know that the number 1 had a GoPro paint scheme, and I like that one a little bit more, but I also like the Ross Chastain paint scheme that I chose from him more than the GoPro paint scheme. So I chose the one that he had for specific reasons. I'm choosing this one for specific reasons. This was my favorite Daniel Suarez scheme by far, if we're not counting the throwback paint scheme. I actually tried to order this one, and then my order was canceled because they decided not to produce this one, which was a total shame because I would have had it right behind me on set, and now I don't. So that's unfortunate. But I really like this paint scheme. Again, though, I liked it when the base of the car was like a darker blue. However, I think I'm gonna give this scheme a low C. Again, we're stacking up the C and D categories, but this is what we have right now. All of our schemes listed. We have the 18 in the S tier. In A tier, we have the 4, 6, 12, 8, and 45. B tier, we have the 1, 3, 17, 23, 38, 42, 51, and 78. In the C tier, we have the 2, the 20, the 43, the 7, the 31, the 21, the 15, 16, and 99. D tier, we have the 24, 5, 9, 11, 14, 22, 47, 34, and 77. And finally, in the F tier, we have the 41, 10, 48, and 19. Now it's time to switch things up a little bit. I feel as if I need to break up the C tier and this D tier. As much as I love the Kevin Harvick paint scheme, I do not feel as if it deserves to be as high as it is. For that reason, I'm gonna move it down 1, 2, 3-ish spots, but then technically 2 because I'm gonna move the 3 chai scheme, I think, down to B. The scheme I'm gonna reassess the most is this Ross Chastain number 1 scheme. It's the first scheme that I started off with, so I started it off at a C, I believe, and then I moved it to a B, or I honestly don't remember what I did. But I do not feel like it belongs at a B. It's busier than this number 2 scheme, and I don't like how busy it is. And when I looked at it again, it just didn't grab my attention like it originally did. I'm gonna move it to the middle of the C category, and I'm gonna put it kind of right here. And I'm looking over the rest of this list, and I think I'm set. I don't want to say I'm set because I feel like if I do that, I'm locked into this, and I think some of my opinions are very out there. Some of my opinions I feel like might be spot on for you, but this is my definitive tier list. The 18 is the only car at an S tier. Then we have the 6, the 12, the 4, the 45. B tier, we have the 8, the 3, the 17, 23, 38, 42, 51, 78. C tier, we have the 2, 20, 43, 1, 7, 31, 21, 15, 16, and 99. And then D and F tiers stay practically the same. We have the 24, 5, 9, 11, 14, 22, 47, 34, 77. Then at F tier, we have 41, 10, 48, and 19. So that's my definitive tier list on what I thought were the best schemes of 2022. Congrats to Kyle Busch, the only driver to hit S tier. You are my favorite paint scheme of 2022 in the number 18, the Interstate Batteries scheme. But what is your favorite scheme? Make sure to check out the tier list link in the description below to make your own, and tag me on Twitter at @TaylorKitchen_ with a picture of your list. Also, to make sure to follow that same username on TikTok for more NASCAR content, and follow Above the Yellow Line on Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure to check out TobyChristieCom on all social media platforms and TobyChristie.com to read more in-depth stories about the teams and your favorite drivers. Last but not least, I want to give a huge shout out to Shaq iGear and Doordash for being fantastic partners of TobyChristie.com and Above the Yellow Line. So before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends and family, and guys, thank you so much for checking us out here at TobyChristie.com and Above the Yellow Line, and until next time, I'll see ya.